Welcome to Transformative Talks, an intentional wellness podcast dedicated to education, enlightenment, and empowerment through meaningful connection. Through thoughtful conversations with fellow wellness and holistic practitioners, we explore the many pathways to well-being. Each episode is designed to expand understanding, spark curiosity, and offer practical insights you can integrate into your everyday life. Our intention is to inspire your own positive transformation and support you in creating a more empowered life.
All right. So, welcome back to Transformative Talks. I'm your host, Chelsea Gilbert, and today we're doing another installment of the Energetic Experience. Aether Candace is joining me today to talk about so many interesting things. And Aether is the founder of SoulTrine. She's a licensed massage therapist, ordained minister, trauma informed coach, somatic and energetic practitioner, podcaster, and author. All those are amazing things. So I'm ready to dive into all of these topics with you. But can you tell us a little bit about your background and about how you got to where you are today?
Well, I've had this specific business since 2015, and I've worked alongside, like, during that time, I've also worked in, like, sales and marketing. And why that matter is because I deal with a lot of people in my day-to-day business who are going through that corporate struggle, who are just having a hard time. It's what feeds us, that type of work, sales, marketing, corporate work, and things like that. So I think it helps for me to be able to relate to the struggles that my clients are having, because when people come see me, they're coming to see me for Reiki, somatic regulation, readings, but also massage. And we added massage and somatic regulation like at the end. But I have been doing the work, like my reading services. I started that when I was 18. What changed everything was I intentionally went on my own healing journey in like 2008. And I went hard. I had multiple mentors in that process. And I knew that this is where I was going to be. I knew that my journey was to be of support to others in this way. But there's a lot of work that I had to do on myself first. And so by 2015, I was ready to not just do like readings here and there, but to make it an official, like, real business. That's when I started this company in 2022. So much had changed for me in that time, and I was headed in a new direction, and SoulTrine is what made sense. And at the time, I didn't feel it the way I feel it now, in the sense of, like, SoulTrine made sense because trine is an astrological aspect, like a very positive astrological aspect representing harmony. And so that's why I chose the name, to represent us having more harmony and us being able to see, the positives in the chaos of the world. Like, where are we having harmony? And also, what do we need to do to work towards that? Because everything isn't like I'm not a love and light person. I'm gonna say that right now. I believe in the full spectrum of the person. And if that means that you can identify like where you want to be, but then also knowing that this is where I am, and I'm going to love and honor myself where I am and work my way up there. Like, so that as time went on, I went to massage school, and that changed everything. It changed the business, it changed how I do business, but also it changed how I work with others. So, for example, I've been doing Reiki services, or excuse me, energy services since like 2015, and I'm good. I'm still good. But going to massage school made me so much better. I was able to feel people on a deeper level because my understanding of the body greatly improved, like, down to the cell. And so I would feel my client on a much deeper level. I mean, it went so crazy. Like, when I work on their sacral chakra, I would feel the pain of the past. I could tell if someone has had a miscarriage. I could tell if someone has had an abortion. I could tell if they suffered, like, sexual abuse. So these are the things that when I go over there, I would feel it. I mean, before it would be more like a subtle knowing that, okay, this is what's going on, this is the trauma that they have, but like physically feel it to where it would bring me to my knees initially, because my understanding of the body was not as keen as it was when I started or was immersed in massage school. So then once I started to experience that and understand on a deeper level, like how it's all connected, it's not just meditation, it's not just, readings and psychic work and energy work. It is also the body. And so now I'm like, you know what? I knew then, back in 2022, that the trine was deeper than just astrological. It represented mind, body, and spirit. And so that really what I do most of the time is try to figure out ways to help people understand the importance of all three.
Yeah, that's awesome. And two, you coming from a background of being more energetically sensitive, I could see how when you go into massage and you're closer proximity with people like that, I almost feel like that would be like almost overwhelming to start out like coming from that perspective and then diving into massage like that. I feel like I went a little bit backwards. I started in massage and then leaned it more into my intuition.
Mhm.
So that's an interesting perspective to go into massage from an intuitive and energetic perspective first and then tap into the body like that.
Yeah, I think I was the only one in my class who had that. There are other classes ahead of me where there are people who did Reiki as well, and they were in massage school too. But in my specific class, I believe I was the only one.
Mhm.
And it was jarring until my system got used to it. Like now I don't get those dramatic falling on the ground feelings that I was having, but it's just my body gives me signal. Actually, yesterday, there was someone who came here for Reiki, and as I'm working on their sacral chakra, their heart, I could feel like I'm having a real feeling in my heart about what's going on with them. So I'm like, what we have going on here in the sacral chakra is greatly affecting the heart. These two are having an issue that is tied together and definitely we got to work on it. So we did, and we did kind of give him a little bit more sovereignty instead of it being so, so tied up where it's like, well, this is bothering it. So this is, I mean, like I'm feeling physical pain in both sides. It doesn't make me fall to the ground like it did the first time, but it does give me a keen sense of what's happening, how it's connected, and, potentially other organs that could be affected. Like I told this woman, I was like, yeah, so you have IBS or you having diarrhea regularly? She was like, she's like, I am. But but that's what I can feel. That's in her solar plexus. That's the zone, and so I like the act of being able to support people in all ways. And I tell them all the time, please call your doctor. A lot of people told me over time that it was a massage therapist that saved their life because of feeling certain things and touching certain things on their bodies. Uh, it's happened to me too, where you massage someone and you feel something that doesn't belong. You don't know what it is, but you know they need to go see somebody. So it's having those two sensations or being able to feel that physically, but also feel it energetically is interesting.
Yeah, and I think as well that really makes you more of a well-rounded therapist or facilitator because if you're picking up on all those subtle things, it gives you more information and more tools in terms of like how to help that person when they come into you. So it's
Right.
not just about I'm coming in to just get a relaxation massage. Like I'm coming in for like a whole body holistic healing experience.
Well, and I have to be very clear about that because in massage school, we had a teacher who was a Reiki therapist. And she, in her sessions, I think people book that way where they get a combo massage and Reiki. And then I've run into other therapists in like the franchise spot who they may not be a Reiki master. They massage people, but they put their energy into people. And I don't like that. I'm very much against that. And I have my system set up to where it's like you either get one or the other. I have one service that you get, it's 3 hours, it's a reading, it's Reiki, and it's massage. We do we have like a 97% cacao bar. We both like eat it throughout the process. It's a whole ceremony for you, right? So that's the only time that you'll see those services coming together. Other than that, only well, stretch Reiki. So there's a Reiki service that I do where I'm stretching you because I'm trying to release the energy that's trapped at the joint. That. But I really feel like some people are a little too lackadaisical with their consent of clients. So, for example, if you book me for a massage, I'm not doing Reiki on you. I'm not putting energy into you. I'm not even going to clean up your chakras. I might at the end say, hey, you might want to consider some Reiki. I do it, but if you have somebody else who does it, I think it would greatly benefit you. And this is consent. I would never, if I paid for one service, I don't want your energy, especially as someone who does it. If I
Mhm.
come to you and you're trying to put energy onto me, or you're trying to get into my energy and like purposely, intentionally, I'm not going to like that. So I would never do that to my clients. Um, just like with Reiki services, I don't touch people. And if I do, I explain what's going to happen. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be working in your auric field. I will touch nothing. It may feel like I'm touching you, but I'm going to be up here. 'Cause sometimes when I do Reiki, people are like, oh my goodness, I feel that here. I feel that there. But I'm not touching them. It's just the way it feels. So I have them, I always have to keep your eyes open, watch everything. So I'm not touching, but you may still feel me. Or if I get at the end of a Reiki session, I might apply energy through the bottom of their feet. So those times and I'll say I might touch your feet, but I'm putting energy through you this way, or I might touch your shoulders. But consent is such a big deal because if that's not what you pay for, that's not what you're going to get. And sometimes it's a matter of, is the person mentally ready for that? Are they in the right place for that type of service? Because after I get done with my Reiki sessions, I have a list of things that I want you to consider. I want you to consider getting a black paper notebook because I want you to write what comes up over the next week or two. You're going to have some things come up. You might have visions. You might have the urge to call somebody that you haven't talked to in a long time. I even have a free ebook on my website that goes over a lot of stuff that I talk about in Reiki sessions to educate people on their bodies, how their bodies and their aura and physical body, the rest of their spiritual bodies, mental bodies, how they all work together, how they impact each other. Because I want everyone to have a level of sovereignty with their spiritual experience. I don't want people to feel uninformed about what they walk around with every day. So, consent and education in my services are very, very, very important.
I feel like with you having that trauma informed background as a trauma informed coach, that consent and education and letting people know what's happening and making sure that everyone's on the same page and in a safe space, like that's a big
Mhm.
thing. So, what do the trauma informed coaching sessions look like with you?
So, they are not, I don't offer that as a session separately. They are just part of who I am and I have also have a business partner. Her name is Kristen Deer. And Kristen, her specialty is lymphatic massage. But even Kristen has a trauma informed coaching certification. And the reason for that is because we both know that everybody who comes in for a massage, like sometimes it's just not physical. Sometimes it's very uh, emotional, and sometimes they're trying to process grief. They've had a simple spat with a relative or someone they love, or they're carrying something so heavy, and now is the time that their system feels like it's time to release. And they're like, only thing they could think of is I need a massage. They may not say they want Reiki or somatic regulation. Those are usually topics that are a little bit more for people who are more advanced in that spiritual realm to just even know about it at all. But to say my body hurts, my back hurts, my neck hurts, we know that sometimes it can be more than that because people are comfortable with you. They've had a session or two, maybe it's their first session, and they might cry, they might talk, they might say things that they don't feel comfortable saying in front of anybody else. And so it was important for not only myself, but anybody who's a part of SoulTrine to have that background to be of support to people, to know how to support people if for some reason they decide they want to open up emotionally.
I really appreciate that you approach your body work and your energy work from that perspective, because I think a lot of the people coming in aren't aren't thinking about that. They're just thinking that they want to feel better, they're in pain, they're stressed out, they just want to feel good. They're not thinking about all the layers and depths of everything that is connected to each other. So it's really important when you are looking for a practitioner to find somebody that has a little bit more of a well-rounded background, because you're going to get a more helpful and supportive experience, even though you think maybe you're just going in for a massage. Like, you're going in and it's good, it's energetically clean, you're not going out with anybody else's junk. So I love that you brought that up about how you go into each session like that. That's just the lens that you use to look at when you're working with people.
Well, something that I do in my Reiki sessions that might be a little different. You mentioned being energetically clean, and that means so much to me because um, I have, the baseline of cleansing that I do with space and of myself every day, and that's kind of where I leave it for massage. However, for Reiki sessions, before we start, we do a protection prayer, and I hold their hand and we do a protection prayer together. I check in with them, see how their body feels, if they had any shifts or any changes in the way that they feel like now. And then I do an exorcism prayer. And I know that sounds like extreme, but it's necessary because um, I feel like you paid for your session. No other entity paid for your session. And that session should be yours. And so if there's anything attached to you, that it needs to go. And so for the most people, it's really just a matter of like, their hands might tingle. They might feel like weight is lifted off of their chest. They might feel lighter. Sometimes they can breathe better. But I've had a few where it's been a little more extreme to where, they threw up. And that's probably like the extent of it. Um, I believe in a clean slate for every person who starts a Reiki session with me because why would I be Reikiing you and whatever entity is attached to you? The entity is likely the problem here or the reason why you're there in the first place. If it's attached like that.
And most people don't have an awareness of that subtle energy and things that are happening around them. And they can come in with energetic attachments or energetic imbalances. And I think a lot of people are walking around like that and they don't even know it. So what are some things that can indicate major energetic imbalance or maybe having some energetic attachments? What can people look for? What are some indicators of that?
So energetic imbalance and energetic attachments are two different things. So imbalances happen to most people all the time. They can fluctuate. Balance and imbalance can change like that. It can be, you just go dancing and you feel better. Your root chakra is now balanced. You get some sunlight. Sunlight can change all the chakras, but the solar plexus, making it balance. So that's something that can be changed easily. But again, when it comes to Reiki, sometimes it's a much deeper issue than just like a shift. And so that's usually why people come. But the ebook that I have on my website, it's free. It's called The Architecture of Alignment. Goes into detail with every single chakra, what a balance looks like, and then what an imbalance looks like. Because a lot of times people just need an example of what what does it feel like if I'm in balance? But then also some solutions that you can do at home, which are, what to eat, what to physically do, and things like that. Now, the entity attachment, that uh, could be a spirit. It could be just a negative energy. It could be something that someone sent. It could be a ghost. It could be something that's not a ghost and not human and, things like that. And so there are many different signs that that's the thing. Someone who's having a difficult time with being able to concentrate or staying focused, feeling like something is sitting on your chest, like when you're laying down, feeling very, very, very tired. And there's a lot of medical reasons that that could be a thing as well. Things just not going right in a consistent manner, just constantly things going wrong. Just your world just seeming like it just went upside down. Not being able to correctly communicate with others. Like, you communicate with others in a normal way and everything's fine. But all of a sudden, no one seems to understand what you're saying. Being sick all the time, like when I say mind, body, spirit connection, a lot of these things that happen to people spiritually will show up in the form of an illness. And that's something that a lot of people like never bridge that gap. They never quite understand like how it's all connected. I do regular cleansing of myself, of my spaces, of the people around me. That same, there's multiple protection, prayers that I do. There's all sorts of things that I do to keep myself cleansed because I've been affected by these things. And I would never want anything connected to me to affect somebody else. So I keep myself cleansed all the time. And most people don't know how to because we're not taught that. You usually end up finding out when you have to. It's not something that's part of school. But I do have like an intuitive development program called PHM, and it's called PHM for Protection, Healing, and Manifestation. And it's a one-on-one mentorship program. Every session is like 2 hours long. The first part is like the lecture, and then the next part, the personal lecture based on where you're kind of from, like starts different. But the next part is use Kundalini Reiki to kind of help your Kundalini rise when you go into that ascension process. I started the program like that. I started with protection first because people need to know if you're interested in intuitive development, you're interested in deeper spirituality, things like that, you need to know protection better than you know anything else. Like that's just what it is. And so many things online are just not talking about that. It's just like, yes, develop psychically. Yes. These spirits, and it's just, hold on now. Do we want to see everything? What don't you want to see? Well, let's work on how to stop yourself from seeing the things that you don't want to see. Let's kind of create some parameters and some barriers. Because once you open yourself up, they see you. Beings, entities, they see you. When I go to a hospital, I have to do that a whole process because in the hospitals you'll find a lot of wayward entities and spirits and things like that. Hospitals are not happy places. There's a lot of sorrow in hospital. And so there's a few years back, I've had multiple surgeries. So I was in a short amount of time, like in a 2 week time frame, I had one surgery and then another. Then I had relatives who were sick, relatives who had babies, all this within a short span. And so, yeah, I was doing my regular daily protections, but I kept having a weird issue. So this weird issue kept happening where spirits who were not able to normally be able to connect with me were connecting with me. And I'm like, what's going on here? I don't allow this type of stuff. Well, what was happening was going into the hospital, more spirits were attaching to me. And because my immune system was compromised, because I had 2 surgeries back to back, I'm not in my fighting position right now. I'm like healing. And so that's another thing that I always encourage people to do. If you are sick or someone else is sick, burn frankincense and myrrh. Like do something to help your energy, their energy. And so I reached out to one of my mentors and said, hey, I'm experiencing things that I don't typically allow. What is the issue? And so she came up with that exorcism prayer for me. And it is a night and day difference. And now this is why I do this for my clients because it helps release things from me that it only takes me about what 2-3 minutes to get through it. If 2 or 3 minutes a day is going to benefit me in the long run, why wouldn't I do this for my clients? I want you guys to get better. So why wouldn't I do that? And so that's pretty much how I started. And I explained that when we sit down and talk, like, this is what I'm going to do. Are you okay with that? These are Abrahamic religion angels that we're working with. Are you comfortable with that? And if they were to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And I'll say, all right. I've got something else for you. And so I've tried to meet people where they are and be respectful of where they are spiritually. And yeah, I've got some protection options for everybody.
Awareness is such a big part of that. And I love that you're telling your clients about energetic hygiene, basically. So if you think about it, every day, like your physical body, you take a shower, you change your clothes, you brush your hair, you brush your teeth. Like there needs to be things that we're taught to do for our energetic bodies as well. Again, with our mental and emotional health, how are you checking in with yourself every day with that? So like hitting all those different levels and making sure you're taking care of yourself in those ways. So I wanted to ask about, so you do energy work. So is that something that transfers over into virtual sessions?
And it'll be 11 years in June that I've been in business, but virtual sessions have been the majority of what I've done. When I started this business, I was living in Atlanta. I'm from Indy, but I've lived in Atlanta for 20 years from the age of 15. When I first started, I was running this out of my home. Like I'd have people come in my home for readings and they come in for energy work sessions. And so 2017 is when I still had clients, so I was doing virtual sessions from there. So it's still effective. Some people prefer to be in person, but at the same time, we don't all live in the same city. So, and there are some people, for some reason, they just cannot physically come in. So they're here local in Indy, but they just can't come in for some reason. And we'll do the session that way. So, um, I'm comfortable either way.
So another way that people can access you if they can't get to you one on one is you have a podcast. And I was listening to some of the episodes and you pull cards, you talk about the energy, like what's going on, like how people can help themselves.
Mhm. The the podcast has made a lot of changes over the year, and I really feel like now I have found the right footing of it. Tried back in the day to just kind of talk about topics that were just bothering some of my clients and things like that. Now I'm feeling very comfortable in what is going on because I still do the same thing. I will still, pick a topic that has been, bothering my clients lately. And then I'll do a reading based on that. That because a lot of the issues that people experience, they affect everyone. So, the last one was about self-worth and the money, the value, like how those two are connected. The pattern that I see all the time, which, hey, what do you want to talk about? This could be a reading. This is mostly reading people. I'm talking about, oh, I'm going to talk about my job. Okay. Let's say what's going on with your job. Go through it, we pull cards, da da da. About 20, 30 minutes in. Having a hard time with my partner. And most of the time they're talking about a romantic partner. But sometimes it's family, or maybe friends. But there's that connection there. You want to talk about your job, which is your money. You want to talk about your someone that you love. Those things are connected. I see it too many times. And it'll be vice versa. And it's so weird because I never made that connection until someone said to me, Venus is not the planet of love, it's the planet of value. Venus is also a planet that if we're talking from an astrological perspective, the planet that we can look at for our money concerns. Like where does Venus sit in our chart? What's going on and let's talk about our relationship with value. What are we doing? And a lot of these things they line up. And so when you can look at love from the perspective of value instead of love is in like I think if you stop saying love and say value, it changes things. Because when you say the word love, there's a lot of expectations that people have. And you have to consider like where are those expectations coming from? Are those expectations from your childhood? Is it something that you want from your parents that you never got, but now that you're grown, you're going to find somebody else who's a romantic partner and see if they can provide that for you? Did you feel valued at home growing up? Did you just feel like you were just existing? And so then on the other hand, we have the job. And so with the jobs, we've got people who are trying to prove their worth, trying to prove that they deserve that paycheck, trying to prove that they should keep their job because they know that there's layoffs coming, or they know that, they have a new boss, and will this boss like me? Well, let me just prove that I am the best, So there's a lot of things that go on in the workplace that make people have to question their value. If does this person see my value? And sometimes we got overgiving. You're doing way more than what you should be doing, but you're not getting paid more. In relationships, we're doing way more than we should be doing, but there's no reciprocity. So those are the things that, we have to consider, like just kind of boil it all down. You got your paycheck over here and you got your romantic life over here. Boil it all down. What does it come down to? Value. Do you value you? Like not even like other people. Do you value? And a lot of times when we get down to it, realize that we aren't valuing ourselves. And so people will reflect what you show them. If you show other people that you value yourself, they'll likely meet you where you're at. But if you show people that you don't, they're gonna be like, yeah, they're gonna agree with you. They will they will be your biggest cheerleader in agreeing with you wherever you are.
I think just the past few minutes of you talking, that was such powerful information and a powerful perspective change. Just in you saying that, I'm like, man, if I just start going around to the people I love and I look at them and I say, I value you versus I love you, like that hits so much harder than just someone saying, I love you. That's a
Yeah,
lot deeper.
it's deeper and then it also takes a lot of the baggage off of it. You
Hmm.
know? The baggage there's so much baggage in the word love, so many
Yeah.
unmet needs in the word love and expectation.
I wanted to go into, you're an author as well. And I wanted
Mhm.
to ask about, is this like a physical book? Is this an ebook? What's that look like? And what's the topic on that?
Oh, so it's there are 2 physical books. They're poetry books, and, I really feel like they are expressions of my shadow. These are things that I wrote while healing through things in my life. Sometimes it hasn't happened lately, but sometimes I get the urge to write. And that writing, like what comes out is me processing emotions that I just ignored or that I didn't know needed attention, right? And like I said, this hasn't happened in a while. I think because it's just not that season for me right now to be writing in that way, in a more creative expression way, or maybe I just got most of it out. I don't know, but the first book is my first attempt at that. So that's me letting go of the reins, um, and just being able to write in a way that's I know is going to be seen by the public, but also like it's not so restrained. In my work in marketing, I did a lot of like copywriting, writing copy for websites and social media and things like that. Or and I also manage people who did the same. So there's a way you write. You're writing for the perspective of someone to have a certain outcome. You're writing because you want to sell, try to sell. Right. That's what that is over and over and over again. But being able to write from your soul, write from your heart, that's a different ballgame. That is being seen. That is not only being seen, but and being seen naked emotionally. And that was hard for me. And a lot of times when I write, I cry because I'm finally being able to release what's inside. So the first book was my first attempt at that. And I'm very proud of that book. I did get a couple of people who reached out to me, found me like, you know what? Thank you because this book helped me really leave an abusive relationship. And I find that so interesting because even though I wrote that book, I was not able to leave the abusive relationship that I was in. I wrote it, published it, and everything. I still was was still there. Then the next book that I published that in 2022, and I had to be very honest with myself about how there's so much that I didn't write or didn't publish. A lot of things just kind of stayed off to the side, like I'm not putting that in. But this book is way more shadowier. it's me processing my shadow um, in these ways, and it's dark. So I try to warn people like I'm probably the worst salesman for my books because I'm like, be careful because the first one, it's deep, it's very emotional, but the second one is like I didn't even promote. That's how deep and dark that is. A lot of the tools that I use to write are like well, it's Google Keep, and the other one is Journey. And so Journey is a journaling app, and Journey will tell you where you were when you wrote it. It will tell you the temperature, what the weather was like the day that you wrote it.
Wow.
And then yeah, and then it will send you reminders over the years. Remember this day? And I don't want to remember that. Thank you. I went through my Journey app. I went through my Google Keep and just put all of that together. So in that particular book, it's set up by date and time. Because there's some times where I wrote multiple times in one day. So through the date and the time, so you see the journey of like what I'm going through emotionally. And I'm not actually saying what's going on. But it was just they were hard times that I had to get through, and I haven't felt like writing. There's so much more that I could write, that happened afterwards, happened during the publishing of that book, but I hesitate to do that because I don't know, I don't wanna give it that much energy anymore. Like, I feel like I think my positioning on that, I think I'm in a different place in my healing journey, let me say that. So it's not a matter of, "Hey, this happened to me. Hey, it's more like, man, let me tell you what I learned about this." Like, that's kinda where I'm at now. So, if I were to write another book, it would likely not be a collection of poetry that just shows my emotional state through the process. It will more likely be lessons, like, "This is what happened, and this is what I learned from it, and now I can laugh at it." That's kinda what I think I would go from there because I haven't in this journey of healing, I haven't wrote as much poetry as I normally do. I've wrote more lessons, guides, and things like that, but not so much poetry.
Well, I feel like just from talking to you this little bit, you could definitely write another book. You have so much content and experience and things to share and things to help people with. I think it's good to have it out there, that first part of your healing journey, A, because it helped you process it, but B, because it's nice when you are in that point in your life to kind of see reflections of what you're going through, that I'm not the only person that is experiencing this in this moment. It's a range of human emotions, right? We all experience the shadow and we all experience the light, but we tend to push the shadow away so hard and not really fully integrate it, and then it's hard for us to level up and heal past certain things because we're just pushing them away and we don't want to see them. So I love that you have offerings out there that kind of shed light on the shadow side and can kind of
Mhm,
help people like relate and feel like they're not alone in that sense.
mhm, and that's one of the recommendations I have for people is to write. But what I've come across lately is writers, and so I know what it's like to when you are a writer, whether that be, like, for a corporation or for, recreation or, you're an author. When you write like that, sometimes it can be a little more work for you to be able to just let go. It's something that can be fixed very easily. However, when people are just going through things, sometimes you don't need that hurdle. Sometimes you need to just have a way to express. So I usually say, if I know they're a writer, I'll say, go get some watercolors, go get some oil pastel, something very easy, and paint. Because because you may not be an artist, you may not be good at painting. Because of that, painting will likely be something that'll be easy for you to release emotion. And so that's what I would try to get people to do is to understand like your session with me is great. It's gonna impact you and you may remember this for the rest of your life. However, people need to know proper aftercare. Like what do I need to do for myself? to maintain or to until the next time I see you again. I don't want you to have that 1 hour of awesomeness. And then, you still have to go live a real life. You still have to deal with your kids and your partners and your bosses and everybody else that comes around you. You're going to get phone calls from your parents, all these things. I may have just, knocked a whole bunch of stuff off of you, all of the gunk that you've been hanging out, got your chakras together, but how are you going to handle this new state of being? And even with massage, I tell people take an Epsom salt bath. The magnesium in the Epsom salt is great for the muscles, especially when it goes through the skin. So I have a magnesium, a specific magnesium cream that I use. I send them the link to it. But even though I offer that as a service, I send them the link so they can buy that magnesium cream themselves. Because if this is an issue for you, why not put that magnesium cream on your knee and then put a barrier there and then wrap your knee in a heating cup. Do that for 30 minutes. Why not? I don't want you to have an hour massage either. And then you go back and you're stressed out and you hunch your shoulders up like this and you're back to feeling the way you felt. So let's do what we can to make you feel better. Like, I'm going to do my part, but I want you to do your part as well.
Yeah, you're empowering them to take their body and their experience and their pain like back into their own hands through
Mm-hmm.
doing simple things like that. Because I think when people are in pain or have an issue, we're kind of conditioned to like, I'm not in control of this. I don't know what to do. I have to go
Mm-hmm.
and rely on other people. Like it's good to have that passive and have, somebody help you along the way and support you. But if people aren't actively doing things to maintain that for themselves, they're not going to dig themselves out of any hole. They're just going to stay where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Exactly that.
So, how do people get a hold of you, book with you? And I'm assuming you're accepting new clients, right?
Yes. So we are accepting clients, Kristen and I. Kristen is a phenomenal massage therapist. I found out how amazing she was as we were in a couples massage session at a franchise spa. And I hadn't even experienced. I just watched her and I was blown away because she doesn't massage like anybody else. Um, she's made me a better massage therapist because of how her perspective and her conceptualizing of everything. We still have a completely different style, and she does great deep tissue. We do not offer Swedish here. So I'm accepting clients for everything: massage, Reiki, reading, and then somatic regulation. SoulTrine.org. That's how you can find us. 317-210-3198. All of our bookings are online, but if you do have any questions, you can just reach out. We have a church wing of SoulTrine, so it's very different. It's not a worship situation. It's more of a fellowship vibe. We're actually meeting this coming Sunday on the 8th, but we meet every second Sunday of every month. And this is not for everybody, but this is really for the people who are on a very intentional spiritual path, people who had their first awakening. And I enjoy communicating with people like this because a lot of them feel very alone. They're in their families or in their friend groups. They just feel different and they don't have anybody to talk to about it. So it's not a matter of me standing there preaching to people. That's not how it works. But it's a very interactive and welcoming environment. And this will be, yeah, this will be our third or fourth session. So I'm really excited about it because people leave here feeling connected and leave here feeling heard. And the point of it is to not, if you can worship however you worship, that's not what we're here for. We're here to uh, not feel so alone in the world, but to really kind of reflect on how the changes within us are affecting us in mind, body, spirit, the world, and home. And we have talked about current events because that's a thing. A lot of the people who have been coming to see me lately, they've just kind of hit their tipping point. And I say see me as in services. They have hit their tipping point with the news, with everything going on in the news. Um, they cannot take it anymore. They're stressed out and they don't have anybody to talk to about it because either one, the people around them are maybe feel opposite, or two, they're kind of around people who are just like too negative. I don't want to talk about that. So it just no outlet. The thing is, how does that make you feel? I'll say lately, the state of the world has been a huge reason why people come for services. And that could be just massage. They're just like, oh my God, I can't take it. I'm gonna keep hearing this. This is driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. I just don't know. And it's just the powerlessness of it. And so that's another thing because there's so many people around them who do not care. And that alone gets people upset. So we don't get into specifics, but it's just like, how do you handle it? It's just like everybody kind of sharing their experiences of how they cope with their existence, essentially. you know, how are you coping with, where are you feeling this in your body when this happens? And creating that level of awareness. I have a couple who comes to the services and they're just like, "Oh, we're telling our family this is our church." And I'm like, "Thank you." I mean, that's the point of it all, but it's just like, I never had the intention of taking the place of church, but they haven't been going to church. This is the thing. What I do resonates with them. And that's what I want. I want those people to feel comfortable here.
You probably see similar things and patterns with people when they come in and the things that they need. And definitely collectively right now, like there's a lot of stuff going on. And even
Mhm.
people that aren't necessarily sensitive to things like that or sensitive energetically, it's so much at this point, like they can't not feel it and they really don't know what to do with it. So I love that you're creating spaces and different supports and different types of empowerment for people that are going through that part of their journey where, they're intaking all of this stuff that's happening, whether it's on a personal level or on a global level, and they don't know what to do with it. So
Mhm.
I absolutely have loved this conversation. It was so good.
Thank
So
you.
much good stuff came up. So if you are listening in on this and you are feeling like you need that extra support, or you're feeling like you need some energetic hygiene, or you need that one-on-one, if you're in the Indy area, definitely contact Aether. I will have all of her information in the bottom linked up so you can easily just kind of go in and figure out how to get a hold of her. And again, thank you so much for being
Thank you
on
for
here. I
having
appreciate
me.
you.
I appreciate you
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. So stay tuned for the next Transformative Talks.
Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms so you never miss a new episode. If you're a holistic or wellness provider or someone with a healing journey you feel called to share, we'd love to connect. Visit www.tjtbodywork.com to reach out. And please make sure to join us for the next episode of Transformative Talks.